In brief, in numerology, the theory is predicated on your date of birth. So the month, the day, and the year you're born denotes why you're here. You know, normally only when the hit the fan, we want to know that. But we're all here for a purpose, a reason, and that's determined from taking the month, the day, and the year you're born. Your date of birth, though, is more immediate. That is what gives you your focus, your direction, that points you north on the compass. Your name, though, denotes your natural talents, gifts, skills, and abilities. What you do, who you attract to you, your philosophy, your career orientation. So when you combine both the name of the birthday and the number of the name of the person, then you got a more composite picture of really the person's goal and purpose of being on this planet. All of us have a reason and a season. It's just what is yours.
The highest level is ownership. The highest level is power. The highest level is sovereignty. The highest level is higher consciousness. The highest level is when we own our own culture.
Excellence at a very high level. Not eye level. A high level. That.
It's time for a high level conversation.
We're here for another high level conversation.
19 keys and this is a high level conversation. Tap in with the guide.
Peace family, I'm 19 Keys and you back for another high level conversation. Today we're going to have a very beautiful high level mathematical conversation. Today I'm joined with a very legendary brother. You don't actually get to speak to too many individuals such as this man because there's only so many number ones on the planet Earth that can occupy a space at a particular point in time. This is a brother who's been doing this for decades in the game. So it's not somebody who just started. This is somebody who's been entrenched, right, into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the numbers of our universe. I wholeheartedly understand and know that we live in a mathematical universe, that numbers are vibratory frequencies, and those frequencies can be matched with multiple different traits and understanding when you have the wisdom and the intuition and the power to be able to process that information. Once you align with the numbers within the universe, certain things become known to you. A lot of us have intuitive power, but not everybody has the mental processing power to be able to understand their intuition within the time frame to be able to gain the synchronicity, the meaningful knowledge within that coincidence, right? But this brother Lloyd Strayhorn, I believe that he offers us an opportunity to understand our intuition. Understand the intuitive processes of the universe. Now, this is a person who is an astronumerologist. He utilizes the numbers to enlighten us on the divine reality and the fabric of the universe. Now, this brother has been on multiple shows, even from the Oprah show. Everybody knows Lloyd. And if you don't know, today you will be familiar with the master numerologist himself as he has joined me for a high-level conversation. Hopefully today you'll hear your number and you can be able to utilize this knowledge to be able to coordinate within your life path and your destiny path and understand why you may see certain repeated numbers so you may not have to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Today, I am joined by none other than Lloyd Strayhorn. Appreciate you, brother.
Brother, I'm very honored to be here with you too. How you doing?
Man, I feel masterful. How about yourself, brother?
Good, good.
Yes, sir.
You know, the whole world is predicated upon numbers. You can't do anything without numbers. One time I did a challenge during the COVID shutdown. And you know, everybody is like, how long can you hold your breath challenge, all that stuff. And I had a crisp $100 bill. And I said, this $100 bill is yours. It's free. All you got to do is tell me how you're going to begin and end your day without using numbers. I've been trying to give that $100 bill away for quite some time. You can't do it. When you get up, the tendency is to want to know what time it is. You can't make a call. You can't receive a call. You can't watch a TV program or listen to a radio station because they all have frequencies. You can't do anything with numbers, without numbers. And as I tell, and I like to say to guys, suppose you met the most beautiful woman on the planet and you want to get to know her better, say, yo, boo, what's your number? She says, just call any number.
Yeah.
Well, you be calling till the cows come home.
Yeah.
But if you got the right numbers, the right 10 numbers in the right order, you get the person you're looking for.
That's a very masterful thought. 'Cause just that idea itself, you realize that each person is matched with a number, right?
Yes.
And that number is a frequency, and it literally is there to call that person. So even when you think about the idea of having a calling, but you have to be in tune with the right frequency in order to be attached to that calling, which most people may call a purpose.
That's exactly correct. So even if you look at a radio or TV station, it sends out a frequency that has, like, here in New York, it's 107.5, then it's power 105.1. But those frequencies allow you to select your station, or I select my station.
And that's mathematics working in real time and not just on paper. That's mathematics working within the universe, within space-time frequency.
Yeah.
Right? And that's ontological mathematics, understanding the application of mathematics. See, I was taught that Islam was mathematics, right? And me, I'm a very master logical thinker, right? Everything has to add up.
Yeah,
If it does
that
not
makes sense.
add up, then I can't accept it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so that's where even within, like, faith and religion and things of that nature, it's harder for some people to take religion because they're so logical. And then there's other people who aren't logical. They may be more faith-based, right? They may judge by their senses, or they may judge by their feelings. So a person that is a feeler, right, it's easier for them to take faith than a person that has to be judged by their senses, because they have to observe, and it has to be an observable truth in order for them to be able to command their thoughts, to be able to process that and say, yes, I take this as wholehearted truth.
Well, that's true, because that's one of the things about this ancient African sciences of astrology and numerology. All of this was by people over time began to observe that if you were born in a certain part of the year, you exhibited a certain characteristic. If you were born under a certain number, you exhibit a certain characteristic. So all of these things are defined by the masses of those who had the power of observation.
And I believe in high-level observation. You take in information, data, and you utilize that then to make decisions.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like in science, you can do one thing once and this could be considered a miracle. But if you can't repeat it, right?
Yeah.
Then they don't take that as truth.
Right, they don't define that as what is called the scientific method.
Right. And so it's the same thing in reality. I think that, the idea of accuracy and the idea of truth. And sometimes accuracy is lost when people are searching for truth, right? There was a famous, I think he was an astrophysicist, I believe. But he was giving an example of if you ask somebody their height, they're going to say maybe 6 feet, 2 inches. But it's not exactly accurate.
No.
Right? Because you know now, if you was judging by 6 feet, 2 inches and a few centimeters, right? And then those centimeters stack up to 30 atoms, right? Now, but when you're talking about truth, a person may tell you a truth, but the accuracy is not always there. So then you would ask a person, okay, is that accurate? And now a person has to come up with a completely different number. And accuracy can always be judged by the property of numbers. You understand me?
Yeah.
And so everything in our life has a property to it. Even if you are illiterate, you can still do arithmetic. You can still do math. So you can speak the language of mathematics without actually speaking the language of man, because the language of mathematics is the language of the universe.
Yeah. And in fact, when I had the occasion of meeting Minister Farrakhan on several occasions, he explained that what I did was called supreme mathematics. In the 5% nation, they also call it supreme mathematics. And in fact, the universal language on this planet is mathematics.
Yeah, I mean, that's the breakdown of the 5, the 10, and the 85ers. You understand me? The 85 is the lost found. Right? Then you have those who utilize that knowledge against the lost found. Then you have those who have the knowledge itself. And everybody, you know, I look at the world in percentages, right? By the numbers, because everybody is breaking down in different categories.
Yep.
Earlier, I was talking to you about Myers-Briggs type, which are different personality types. Some personality types are rarer than others, right? So that if I meet some people, let's say that only 2% of the world think, feel, and judge the world in the way that you do. So now if you go on a large platform and you give your opinion, express the opinion about something, the way you see things, most people are going to be like, I never thought about that before. I've never heard of that. It's going to be harder for them to accept that first because it's not the common truth of the land, right? Now, what I want to get to, number one, I want to start with what is the most common number, right? Or most common life path or destiny path that people have?
The most common number that people have as a life path would be 3s and 5s. Universally, though, the most common number seems to be revered and understood and respected as the number 7. Because 7 is nature.
Yeah.
From 7 days in a week, 7 notes in the musical scale, 7 colors in the rainbow, the 7 continents. And in fact, the majority of the founders of religions are 7s. Buddha is born on the 7th. Christ's birthday celebrated on the 25th. 2 plus 5 is 7. Elijah Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, was born October the 7th. Billy Graham was born on the 7th. Bishop Desmond Tutu was born on the 7th. Charles Russell, that founded Jehovah's Witnesses, was born on the 16th. 1 plus 6 is 7. Mary Baker Eddy, that founded Christian Science, was not only born in the 7th month, but on the 16th day. 1 plus 6 is 7.
Right.
Even in the Bible, they talk about they circled the walls of Jericho 7 times. They sounded the trumpet 7 times, and the walls came tumbling down. And as you know, when a Muslim goes to Medina to make his Hajj in Mecca, he must circle the Kaaba stone 7 times, and the rite is complete.
Right, and then in your book, you give a breakdown of the 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah.
52 weeks, 5 plus 2,
Yeah,
7,
7.
and then the 7 days of the week. So
7 holes in the body. I mean, it's just incredible how 7s are just, it's God's number.
Now that's very powerful, even 7 colors, right?
Yeah.
So, but within that, now think about that, right? That number 7, and really, there's a few numbers that I want to get to first, and then we can give a breakdown of some of the other ones. But you know, 7 is an odd number.
Yes, it is.
You understand me? But at the same time, it's a very powerful one because time is governed by 7s. You understand me? When we're talking about the 7 days of the week, we live in that cycle every single day, right? Like we have cycles within our day, right?
Yeah.
But we are on a 7-day cycle, and we don't think about that. But see, in our day, they call them Ortradian cycles. And we have these 90-day cycles where we can go through probably around 3-4 times where we have peak performance, right? Where our brain is at its height. And then we go through a, mental recession. And then we have to go through an ultradian healing process where it takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we have 90 minutes of probably like peak performance in these cycles. It goes down for about 20 minutes. It comes back up for another 90. And so that's one cycle within our day. Then we have circadian cycles within a 24-hour cycle, right? Which would be a 6, right? But then we go through a 7-day cycle, right? Now, most people in society are living on this 7-day cycle, and they don't think about it, but that's what governs their reality.
Yeah, and
right?
we have 7 days in a week.
Right, 7 days in a week. That's what I mean.
In fact, if you look, when a child reaches age 7, it is the age of reason. When they reach 14, which is twice 7, it is the number of puberty. When they reach 3 times 7, which is 21, then you become legal. 7 times 7 is 49, which is called a very important year. So 7s are always very, very important. In fact, if a person owns a dog or a cat, for every 1 year you make, it's 7 years for your cat or your dog. If you look at world history is 70 years. 70 years in world history equals 1 day. So if you look at the United States, which is only 200 and something odd years old, well, by history and world standards, it's considered a baby nation.
Yeah.
It's only 2 or 3 days old.
Right.
And some months.
Well, see, now that's interesting in the concept that they said that the world was created in 7 days.
Yes.
What we know as days today is not what days have always been, though. because the days that we know now are constructed based on calendars.
Yes.
Right? So a cycle of a day is considered to be, based on a 24-hour cycle rhythm of the sun, right? But at the same time, as you just gave that broke down, a person can think about a day being a larger cycle rather than smaller cycles to where we go about it, right, in our common day today.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of understanding how these cycles work, and it's not just with 7. Nikola Tesla said those who understand the 3, 6, and 9 also understand the universe.
Right.
So if you look at an astrologer, each planet is either 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 360 degrees, but they all add up to the digit of a 3, 6, or 9.
That makes sense. I mean, even the threes within a month, because most months are 30 days.
They're
or
30 days is the rule.
Right? And that's a cycle within itself. And then, but at the same time, the number 13 governs time with the moon, but man's calendar is 12. What's the difference between the number 13 and 12 as far as power cycles?
Well, in the tarot deck, the 12th card is called the hangman. It's a picture symbol of a man hung upside down by his ankle. It denotes mental suffering and anxiety of mind, that if a person is not careful, they become the victim or the sacrifice for the plans and intrigues of others. So 13, though, is called the death card. In the picture, the 13, it's a skeleton with a long curving blade cutting off the heads of men and women. But so people in their not knowing or lack of knowledge looked at it as a literal death when it's really a symbolic death. It's a death to old ways. So it says those who understand the 13 is given power and dominion. So if you took the United States, for example, although it is the 4th day of the month, July 4th, this whole structure was predicated upon the 13. 13 stars, 13 stripes, 13 naval ships guarded the colonies, E pluribus unum, 13 letters, the White House, 13 letters, don't tread on me, 13 letters. And so even the word assassination is 13 letters, So 4 has always, and 13 has always been very important to the United States. If you look at the dollar bill, you got the eagle that holds 13 arrows, 13 claws. It's got 13 stripes. It's got 13 clusters above the head. If you take the protractor to the triangle on the back of the dollar bill, it's 67 degrees. Well, 6 plus 7 is 13.
Yeah.
So those who understand it. So if you then go to the root of 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. A president is elected every 4 years.
Yeah, 4 cycles.
Then Washington, D is broken into 4 quadrants: northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. The area code to Washington is area code 202. Yes, and the zip code is 20002, which is a 4. So everything about it is predicated upon the 4 or its higher octave, the 13.
That's powerful. See, that just gets me deeper into the idea of understanding the cycles of man, time, and the universe.
Yeah.
Like, because, a woman's menstrual cycle is considered to be a Freudian cycle. So it's outside of just 24 hours, but a woman goes through that cycle 13 times throughout the year.
That's exactly
you understand
right.
me? And so that, you have the old world calendars that's represented based on the moon, right, the lunar, but the new man calendar is based on the solar. So when man started to control time, his was based on himself, right? But when it was revolved around a woman, it was based on the universe. You understand me? And the correct cycles that keep us in balance. And we live out of balance when we live within man's time, right?
Yeah.
So when a person starts to grade their life by a 7 cycle, that's not correct, because that's not the way nature is composed, right?
Well, nature is a whole different energy against man-made or contrived time.
Right.
So, for example, the moon is always associated with a woman. So on the day the woman has the first day of her menses, that's considered a new moon. 14 days from her menses is her ovulation, which they call a full moon. So back in the 70s or 80s, it was a popular thing then called the rhythm method. The women knew that on the day of their period, all they had to do is count 14 days from the day it started, and they knew that's when their ovulation cycle would be very high if they wanted to conceive or not to conceive and stuff like that. So all these things now fast forward, all a woman got to do is download a fertility app.
Yeah. Well, see that's dope though, right? So like, and this is why I was studying these cycles, because it's like, all right, I find myself sometimes where I can have peak performance, right? Where my highest level of thinking, right, is in existence, right? I'm at that gamma frequency where, you know, creativity, focus, I have emotional resilience. It's at a very high peak. Intuition. So that's when I should be working on things. When I'm waking up, you know, going through that circadian cycle, that's more so for thinking, right? So if I'm doing a interview in the morning when my thinking mind is performing at my best, that's when my brain is firing. So for me, understanding my cycles allow me to live in existence and according to my nature, right? And how the universe provides for me. And now each individual is different though. So that's why I feel like there's the practicality in understanding the numbers. Because if you'd have told a woman, all right, count from 14, now she understands the significance of this number 14. Right? But before that, you'd be like, what's these numbers about?
Yeah.
But everything is operated on numbers.
Numbers guide you in everything you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you imagine a world without numbers. Imagine trying to watch a sports game without numbers.
Right.
Who's winning? For an athlete to have his or her number retired from the franchise is an honor, never to be worn again as long as the franchise exists.
And see, that goes to that old saying, millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do.
Yes, that quote came from J.P. Morgan, born on April the 17th.
Yeah.
In fact, Evangeline Adams, an astrologer back in her day, she was born on February the 8th. She actually taught J.P. Morgan astrology, which is why J.P. Morgan didn't get on the Titanic when it sailed in April of 1912, because it sunk.
Yeah.
But Mercury was retrograde at that time when it left Ireland to go to New York, because originally J.P. Morgan he owned the White Star Line, okay, which owned the Titanic. So he had a huge promenade on there, and it was supposed to have landed in New York on his birthday of April the 17th of 1912, but he didn't go. But less than a year later, on March 31st, 17 days before his birthday, that's when he died.
Wow. And see, most people, you said the White Star Line, it got me thinking of Marcus Garvey, because he created the Black Star Line.
And he also was
because
born
of the
on the
White
17th.
Star Line.
He was born on the 17th too, August 17th.
People focus a lot on nutrition, body-wise. You know, I'm gonna feed this particular system of the body, I'm gonna feed that system. Very rarely do people speak about the mind. Very rarely do people speak about the brain. The brain needs the most energy, right? The brain is needed to process. The brain is needed to, you know, compartmentalize. The brain is needed for so many things, you know, but we don't know what brain food looks like, you know. We know that the body's electrical, and what I understand about gold is not only is it super conductive, but it's non-corrosive and it's a noble element. So they say that if I am what I eat, I want to be noble. You know what I'm saying? I want to be of the highest degree. And I also want to focus on mental health. I want to focus on gut health. I want to focus on energy. I want to focus on youth. I want to focus on, you know, accessing pineal activity, hormonal balance. Everything the goal represents is what I want to see more of. So what better thing to do but align myself with this particular product and get it out to as many people as I can by singing the praise of gold, which is something that our people have been doing for over 10,000 years.
So what about the number 5 in the month of Taurus, right?
5 is always indicative of change. The 5 senses, the 5 fingers, things of that nature. 5 represents freedom, flexibility. It tells me people who are normally born in the 5th month have the ability to walk before they were 1 year old, because they're very smart, very engaging. 5 is ruled by the planet of Mercury, which is the planet of communications, multifaceted, multi-talented, multi-dimensional. And since 5 is ruled by air, I tell anybody dealing with an air person, the best way to keep them is to let them go.
I like that. I like that. So I bring that up, right, because in the month of May, right, you have some extraordinary people, You understand me? You got Malcolm X. You
Yep.
got the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know, you have Mother Tanetta, where she used to study the 19 code. Then you have Shakespeare. You have The Rock. You have Dame Dash, right?
Yeah.
You know, number one, all of the men in that categories, you know, excluding Shakespeare, very masculine, right? Black men. You understand me? Now, what is it about that month of May that produces, number one, some of the greatest truth speakers on the planet Earth?
Well, don't forget, 5 is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communications. A person who has the ability to speak and articulate the thoughts and feelings of the culture, the community, humanity, whatever the case is. And probably one of the greatest eloquent speakers in May was, in my opinion, Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Self-taught.
And he was the 19th.
19th, yes.
So he had a lot going on right
People
there.
born on the 19th are normally, if they either have it in their name or born in their birthday, they normally excel in life. John H. Johnson that founded Johnson Publication, Ebony, Jet, and all those other magazines underneath it was born on the 19th. If you look at Smokey Robinson, he cranked out songs for days, and even now, and those who do in the 60s, even now still popular, born on the 19th. So people that are born on the 19th or possess the 19 in their name are very, very fortunate. Because, in fact, Dr. Martin Luther King's father was born himself on the 19th of December. So 19 is very important. And in fact, they call the 19 the Prince of Heaven. It denotes honor, success, and esteem. It is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and they're both fire numbers.
Yeah.
Which means they're very proactive. 5 represents people who who don't sit around, they take action. I hear what you're saying, brother, but what you gonna do?
Right.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, we like execution. You know, I took on the number 19 first, you know, and I didn't know that the journey would become so deep after taking on this number. But it first came from Masterful Art of Muhammad. And he had a quote that he said there's 17 million original people and there's 2 million Indians. And he said that represents the 19 million rusty locks, right? And those 19 million rusty locks can be unlocked by 19 million well-oiled keys, right? And that was a representation of the bandhas, or, you know, a representation of knowledge or enlightenment or truth, right? That can enlighten the people, right? And awaken them to where they can never be oppressed again into that mind of God, right? So my journey is actively enlightening people.
But that makes sense to me because if I took your month, your day, and your year of birth, it factors out to a number 1. So your destiny number is a 1. So if people are not familiar with numerology terms, I put it in a way where it kind of makes common sense. It tells me symbolically you are in the 1st grade in the school of life. And people who have a 1 destiny are your pioneers, your innovators. They go where no person has gone before. And in fact, the year you were born in adds up to 19. Were you aware of that?
The year I was born, 5-4-90.
If you add 1990, 1 plus 9 plus 9 equals 19.
Oh yeah, I always go to 10 then 1, but yeah, it is a 19.
Yeah, when I add all 4 numbers across, 1990, 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 0 equals 19. Or
And
just
even
a
my
coincidence.
personality type, I think it's, what was it, ENTJ or INTJ, and you know, once you add it up, I'll put it in what's the system? Not Kabbalicism, but you know, where you gematria.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes out to a 19 as well. So that 19 is it's in there.
Yeah,
It's
it
in me.
means the beginning and the end. You know what I'm saying? It's the Alpha and the Omega. So, and as I tell people, if they don't want to hear the truth, they shouldn't talk to a number 1 or a number 9. So when you compose of both those numbers, and the person that really personified that was Malcolm X. And he would say, I don't care what it cost me my life.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And he
because
lived his stuff. Okay?
that number 19 represents truth. Represents all truth, not
Yes,
just
it
truth.
does.
Right?
Yes, it
so
does.
that 1, you know, I always get that breakdown. That 1 is that representation of, you know, of course, the beginning, and then that 9 is representation of the end, because all energy of the numbers exists between 1 through 9. There
Yes,
is no
that's
stronger pair that you can put between a 1 to multiply it than a 9.
Right.
Right? And so I look at the numbers as all one.